Warning. The following may contain concepts, ideas, and/or reflections unique in nature and not yet approved by government and/or corporate entities. This content is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to stimulate further reflection or to perpetuate additional discourse beyond the scope already outlined by institutional curriculum.
All right.
In 3, 2, 1, we have liftoff.
Good morning. Today, we're going to be talking about intelligence. It doesn't exist. Cue the intro.
Okay.
Did you cue it? Is
Cue.
it cute? Oh. All right. Yeah, so this one's a little bit more of my brainchild. So I'll start it off. Yeah, so it's about the myth of intelligence, how we're kind of like chasing after this proverbial carrot. And now it's not to say that intelligence is not something that actually does exist in the universe, but our interpretation...
Just not on Earth.
Just not on Earth. Possibly some alien species. No, it's not that there's not a form of intelligence and that one can't aspire to being intelligent, but more that the label of labeling someone as intelligent is it's kind of a mirage, right? Because
How about brilliance?
no.
No such thing?
Well, like
How
I
about
said,
dim-wittedness? That exists.
Yes, to a certain extent, but even stupidity is something that is a lot more of a collective consensus
Something you have to learn.
than something that is universal. So stupidity is something that is something that you can see. Someone makes a mistake, they do something that is obviously like they're not learning from their mistakes, they're doing it over and over again. You could say
maybe they should try something simpler.
I thought you said you're gonna move up. You're getting all casual now.
No, I think it was Laid Back Friday.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that this shirt, well, because I'm feeling kind of chill, you know.
Yeah, well,
and,
maybe it was all the beer the day before.
No, that's pretty normal. In these hot climates, I mean, it was 34 degrees in our suite yesterday afternoon.
Well, we're maybe getting
almost a little off topic.
Maybe a little. As much as we could talk about hydration.
No, we should just talk about the weather. It's pretty simple and something I know quite a bit about.
Right. So let's kind of like break down.
Recap.
So we could talk about stupidity. Stupidity is something that, but while there are extreme cases of stupidity that you can know, well, that guy definitely has Down syndrome. There's also a bit of a spectrum. There's certain people that could be seen as stupid today, but in a different type of society where maybe the importance of knowing your English literature or reading your periodical every day is not deemed to be of that much value. And, you know, a guy who's just a simple farmer, he wouldn't be considered brilliant necessarily, but he wouldn't be considered stupid either.
Yeah.
So the point is that you can, based.
No. What's kind of funny is that when I have something to interject with, I don't want to be breaking your flow, but then it's like 7 seconds later you look to me and it's like, wow, it's already gone.
You just have to use a memory test of like...
Okay, whoa. you talk about memory. Okay, so we do see people with an incredible display of being able to cram all types of phrases and sentences. Some people can memorize books.
For sure.
So if you want to talk about the one capacity of memory, I mean, would memory not be included in some type of clarification of intelligence?
Well, for me, I don't think that memory is a sign of intelligence. I do think it's a sign of a well-functioning brain, but you know what? I also think that hand-eye coordination is something that is a symbol of a well-functioning brain. If you think about traumatic brain...
I remember this cartoon or commercial where, the Crunchy Bar, and you had some Frankenstein kind of guy, and you went to hit it, try to get it in his mouth, and he hit his forehead. So that was a display of bad motor skills.
Yeah, it wasn't a display of good brilliance. Here's the thing, and this is just what I'm riffing off, but for me, I think it's weird because if our brains cause our muscles to move, that's not considered intelligence, right? So we don't look at a athlete and go, wow, that guy's smart.
But he's got good neuron connectors.
But his brain is the one powering the movement of his muscles. And in a sense, what's memory? And it's just a connection. Instead of the brain connecting to your muscles, though, your brain's just connecting to another part in your memory banks. And then maybe connecting to your mouth, but that's, to me, it's not really, it's a display of good cognition, a healthy brain, but is it intelligence? It's just accessing memory.
Okay,
right? Because for example, if you did have a traumatic brain injury, right, a neurologist would be looking at all the factors. He wouldn't be like, well, you can't walk, but you got good memory, so it looks like you're repaired.
Well,
he'd be like, we got to look at...
shut up for a sec then. Motor mouth. Okay, so you're saying is a neurologist who studies this, is he not intelligent? Or intelligence? Is intelligent?
Okay. So this is where we go to the memory again, because what we're looking at with neurology is it's a combination of a compilation of memory. Most of what a neurologist is doing is he's absorbing the block of information that has been acquired at an educational institute.
Okay, so this has to be discovered first.
Right.
In order to cram in a bunch of memory about facts, these facts have to be discovered by someone or some people over a period of time.
Yes, exactly. But here's the thing, is that while a neurologist is someone who's cramming a bunch of information into his head, the question would be, what would happen if he spent his entire life in an education institute, and instead of learning about the brain and how it functions, he was learning about, I don't know, critical race theory or some other thing. Now, technically, he would have spent the same amount of time in school. His memory is functioning and firing on all cylinders. But if what he's using his really sharp mind for is to absorb a bunch of garbage or propaganda, is a mind full of propaganda an intelligent one?
Well, you could say it's a waste of a beautiful mind.
Right. And so here's the thing, is that our society
it's like
is
somebody
built...
who learned a language built upon gibberish, and they actually got the whole gibberish dictionary memorized.
Right.
You could say, well, that was pretty good, but you can't communicate with anybody with it.
So this is the problem. This is where I think, like I said, I do believe in actual intelligence, but I think the way that I think the way that it is thrown around, it basically it has no value. So saying someone is intelligent is a valueless comment, because while intelligence does exist, our interpretation of who and our categorization of who and which person actually exhibits that is more of a societal thing, which means our society could basically completely shit the bed, and all the people that we put on a pedestal and say these people are intelligent are actually fucking morons.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's quite possible.
So that's what I'm saying. When I'm saying that I don't believe in intelligence, I don't believe in the way that we label people as intelligent in our current society and our current status. I think that you have no more value in being labeled as intelligent or just a simpleton or stupid, because who's got their finger on the button? Who's making the call? And when I take a look at these people who are in the intelligentsia, I go, I don't give a rat's ass what their opinion is. You got a bunch of people that have crammed a bunch of word salads into their mouth and then just are regurgitating and spewing it out. That's supposed to be intelligent? So you can have economists that just spew a bunch of garbage. That yes, it's really complicated. You know, you're really going to have a hard time understanding it because we have so many different exponents and growth and if you look at the charts to extrapolate the data from all these different. So you rapid fire. Super fast, regurgitate a bunch of...
No, I think it's also a certain linguistics they have to throw in there so that they have their own language. Lawyers have a certain way of talking.
And in some cases, the more important aspect is people don't understand. Now, the classic idea of intelligence would be being able to understand something so well that you can simplify an extremely complex idea into a very simple statement that's easy for anybody to wrap their head around. That would be a sign of someone who's really understanding something like full spectrum.
I knew somebody.
A lot of these people, though, are like they learn a lexicon and now they're trying to speak in a way that is incomprehensible to anyone that wasn't pushed through that education system.
You obviously feel very passionate about this.
Au contraire.
No, I think what we should have is, the chess punch clock.
Yeah. Well, if you want to do my speed.
No. Well, I once knew someone who shipper receiver, and he would give him a double-digit multiplication to do, and he'd be there looking like you could see him calculating his head, and he'd spit out the answer.
Right.
And sometimes he'd be able to do a 3-digit multiplication.
No, and these things are good. I mean, I'm not saying they're, but you know what?
No, whoa, I'm not finished my thought. Now, this guy was just a shipper receiver.
Yeah.
Now, they had a team of, or at least one guy who was the company's accountant.
Right.
Now, did he use that? No, he was probably pretty proficient in math, but I'm sure he had a calculator or a couple of calculators on his desk,
right,
to confirm his calculus.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could have people that are really good at like chess, right? And if you look at chess and you go, this game is the epitome of intelligence, right? Then anybody who's good at chess is a genius. But you got some people that are like nonverbal savants that are good at chess. They can't even make themselves a peanut butter sandwich. They can't speak. They can't communicate. But they understand the way that their brain is wired. They understand the game of chess. They're able to think multiple moves ahead. But is that intelligence?
Well, that also brings to mind
like Rain Man. Is Rain Man intelligent, or is it just a wiring of the brain?
Is a calculator intelligent?
Is a book?
How about a telephone book? Is it intelligent?
Well,
it
and
was
this
craftily put together in an alphabetical order, which shows to some extent universal intelligence. We're going to allow people to look up a number. How are we going to do that?
Right.
Well, why don't we do it alphabetically?
Well, no, but and here's another thing is maybe a little bit of a red herring, but like if you take a book, you never get someone going, man, these pages are so freaking intelligent, right? Look at the memory on this. It remembers everything that I wrote down on it, right? But you could take a computer program, anthropomorphize it, and then go, oh, look at the this computer is intelligent. No, dipshit. You just wrote. It's like a book. It's like a pair of pages where you wrote information in it, and now you're looking it up again, and you're like, oh yeah, computers know so much.
Okay, here's a thought. So if everything that we deem to be intelligent is this decades and centuries compilation of knowledge and discovery by certain individuals, then what happens if those things are taken away? What is society and humanity reduced to?
Or what happens?
Well, we're brought down to a pretty simple.
What happens if you take just one small component? What if a block of information, what if like 97% of it is great lucid thinking, but only 3% of it is destructive poison garbage?
Well,
what happens to someone's mind? They absorb 97% decent information with the 3% rot. I think that it will permeate into their minds.
Well, one thing no, that's true. But I'm going to switch gears because my thoughts, when I have them, I need to grab onto them.
Well, just remember, I don't believe in intelligence. So whatever you're going to say, okay,
it's not going to be intelligent. Well, one thing I noticed being down here is, people are walking around with the latest cell phones and they're driving around $60,000, $70,000 SUVs. But when you talk to them about, we're conversing in Spanish, but when you're talking to them about things that you know about other countries, the outside world, is they don't have no comprehension. It's very, very, very rare that you get an actual response that they can actually contribute something that they know about something that's going on in Europe or,
Well,
because I think there's been that isolation.
Yeah,
and this is just a connection from outside forces. You could say, Bank of International Settlement or the World Bank or the whatever IMF infuses this influence of globalism into an area like this, and they're like, it's kind of like an infancy. We're a part of the world now,
and we can just suck up information. So whatever we're given, we suck it up. And in a sense, language is a good example of this as well. There's a lot of people out there that they go, man, this person speaks 7 languages. Wow, he's intelligent. But what's interesting is if you speak one language, that's not intelligent. Right.
Well, no, I was thinking about this in Montreal. When you got these hotshot little kids that they go from French in one sentence to English in the other, and then I wonder how that affects the driving capabilities, because I know some people driving in French, which it just seems to be incongruent to the English mind.
I don't yeah. Well, that's kind of funny, but I think that
I gotta add a little bit.
But if you do have a family where you're bilingual, one speaks French, the other speaks English, I mean, is that intelligent if you pick up both languages? Because you're basically learning the same way that one would learn just one language by just being surrounded by it in the environment.
Well, then you would say that children of all members of society got to be considered the most intelligent members of society because they pick up a language in 2 or 3, 4 years. Not just that, but they can also, if they got the kind of parents that could enroll them in skiing or piano lessons, my God, by 10 they can play Chopin.
Right. And so here's another thing.
But talk to them about anything outside of what they've been trained or educated in, and they have no idea. It would be beyond them.
Well, yeah, like, for example, learning Newton's laws of physics is not the same as actually being Isaac Newton and coming up with it yourself.
Who was that Greek guy that came up with the whole...
Pythagoras?
Was he the one that came up with all the musical tones?
Yeah.
So you think, man, how brilliant could this person have been to not just come up with the geometric math component to it, but also pitches and vibrations and resonances.
Okay,
and
so
things that are dissonant.
Well, but
dissonant.
here's another point: is that yes, maybe Pythagoras was brilliant, but maybe what we're really talking about is creative, because whenever we're referencing someone, obviously the wiring in their brain is unique in a way that Isaac Newton's able to look at the world and see it in a way that no one previous was able to have these same epiphanies.
Well, they also had the time and space to do it. I don't think these discoverers were running around trying to pay the rent.
Yeah, they had time of leisure, dude, but that's not really the point. The point is that it's the connection of creativity to what we would determine to be an actual genius or brilliant mind, but it's more connected to just thinking differently. But there's another version of thinking differently that exists as well. Do you know what that is?
No. What is that?
Well, it's called insanity. So if your thinking becomes too hard for society to understand or comprehend, you lose your genius status now, and now you become just an insane kook. Some people have simultaneously held both titles, where they go, he's a genius, but he's also insane. Even a guy like Nikola Tesla, there was kind of like people weren't sure what side he really landed upon, because it depended upon the type of, and this goes again,
well, he wasn't
coming full
really,
circle.
He didn't know how to use society to his advantage, like getting those bank loans. And
like Edison was a lot more business orientated, and he was able to bring an idea and bring it to the market and get investors and everything. But this goes back full circle. So what we really deem as intelligent is really contingent upon the society. What society believes to be of importance is what's going to determine whether you're labeled intelligent, insane, mediocre, whatever,
dull.
Right? Because, like, if you think about it, there's so many different ways you can go, but like most of what we consider just like our intelligence is jumping through a series of hoops, right? Okay, little doggy, here's the information. We've implanted it in your brain this past 3 months at your this semester of university. Now jump through it, right? And the better you jump through those hoops, the more that they can stamp a seal of approval. You're intelligent. Now get out there and find yourself a good job that will replace with Indians in a couple of years.
Hey, I was kind of wondering though, if you think about the aristocracy, let's say in jolly old England, where the head of the house, he had the means by which to educate even his daughters. Bring in tutors, teach them French, or teach them how to knit. No, or teach them
piano
just have a well balanced. Teach them geography. Teach them politics. What's the history of Russia, or what is the history of Rome, Greece. And so that they could go into a little bit of a soiree, and they could talk about many of these different things.
Right. And
they'd all be conversant. Nobody would be tongue-tied on making a contribution. Now, here's the question of having all that kind of exposure and tutelage. Yeah. How many of them came out rather bland when they had all that exposure? How many? It would probably have been quite rare.
Well, and I think as well, I think that the people that were considered maybe like a little dim-witted would probably still be exhibiting more intellect and having more of a refined way of communicating than probably most people today, even in the academic world. So
I think
like
this is why,
we set the bar. Society is the one setting the bar of what we deem to be.
Well, what would the outcome be? What's the median? Let's call it the mean, or let's call it the mean average of intellectual capability among society. And if they haven't been exposed to a classical education, which I think is how you would define knowing, being taught Latin or Greek or learning a wide variety of different things, so that you're sort of well-rounded when you're going to go talking to somebody. You know what fucking Sigmund Freud thought, that fucking freak, or like things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so in a sense, you could say that you could have like a block, and just say, see, if you take all of humanity, you put it in a block, right? Well, the middle section of humanity is always going to be average, right? See, average doesn't mean not intelligent. It really isn't. It's dependent upon the society, because you could have a society of mongrels of very low intellect, and being average is pretty shit, right? But if you have a society of like high achievers where there's like a big pressure to be witty, to be intelligent, to know your history, to know Latin, to know Greek, whatever it is, your average could actually be transcending. It's higher now. So like you could have your average intellect in a high functioning society. You're up here as far as your intellect goes. You could be the top of a crap society where there's very poor education, very very poor standards, and you're at the tippity top, but you're still shit. You're still a moron. Well, you don't understand that?
No, me dumb.
Okay. So let's say, I don't want to throw a group of people under the bus, but let's just say you're the most intelligent person in the Mongolian Empire, right? But let's just say that because the Mongolian Empire is not really, they're not really interested in big poetry, speech, and all this other stuff, and they're more interested in marauding and conquest.
Looting, raping,
their
pillaging.
set of goals means that your level of intelligence is at a certain level. Even being the smartest Mongolian is not necessarily that high. Whereas if you took,
we're talking about ancient Mongolians, by the way.
Let's just say that you took,
and we're only speculating because we.
Well, it's an example because you didn't get what I was saying. So then you take a Renaissance period French society, and you go, well, here's kind of like a mid-level intelligent person in that society, right?
Okay, so
like I said, I didn't want to compare people, but I'm just illustrating a point.
It depends on your measuring stick. What are you placing value upon? If you were in an area where being a good farmer was extremely important, let's say your society went through many years of hunger and scarcity, then being a proficient farmer would be something that the whole society would get behind and say, we value this guy's ability to produce.
Yeah.
And that would be what was important.
Like native tribes, hunting and having good hunter instincts would probably be way higher than just being a good poet as far as its value in their society, right?
But I think what we also might say is that even when, let's say, Europe seemed to crest in all those things that we as Europeans are descended from Europeans, music, art, architecture, our knowledge of history, boat building, anything like that, the locomotive, all the inventions, if those things could ebb and flow, where the value of it, a lot of it has to do upon how we're being steered by our illustrious leaders or faceless leaders. So
yeah. So you understand now what I'm saying, right? Where
you
could be average in a high functioning society where intellect is put on a pedestal and most people are highly educated, or you could be the smartest person in a country that has very low standards. I mean, it's like idiocracy, right? Like if you take an average guy of an average intellect and you dumb down all of collective society, he now becomes a genius, not because he changed, but because intelligence is relative, which is what I was basically the entire premise is that it's kind of an illusion. It's not really
maybe this is where we see this billionaire class emerging out of the descent of our common sense or common capabilities.
Well, yeah, because if you don't have common sense, how you keep these people accountable, right?
No, but
when they come up with some moronic statement about going to Mars.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the bar is low, then we don't even know what intelligence looks like. And in full circle, intelligence doesn't really exist, at least not in a functional form where we have the ability as a society to accurately label it. And we have to label, I just want to put this point because it's important. We have to label someone as being intelligent. For example, I can't go out in the woods by myself, start a fire, and go, I just started a fire. I'm a freaking genius, right? And the reason why I can't do that is because you can't call yourself intelligent. Someone else has to do it. He has to stumble in and go, rubbing two sticks together, that was pretty clever, right? And now suddenly now I've transcended into being intelligent, because you can't, anybody would say, if you're the only one that thinks you're intelligent and the rest of society thinks that you're a moron, you're just going to be considered delusional. You're not going to be considered actually intelligent. So you have to have that society be on the same page with you, which means that the label of intelligence is kind of relative to the quality of the society, not the quality of the thought within the brain. I'll just finish on one more point because I see.
No, when you ramble on though too much, and there's no time to interject, and then you look over at me after you rambled on for like a good solid 2 minutes, and it's not like I'm going to pull a rabbit out of my ass.
My thoughts are appreciated, and once you hit the bricks. No.
Okay, well, okay, I do have something I was going to say.
Well, then go.
Well, don't be so impatient. If anybody is actually out there, I'm speaking from firsthand experience. I have never met anybody that I would go, wow, was that guy brilliant? I met some people who were gifted. This one guy was great at chemistry. He really understood the concepts of chemistry. But he also had a bit of an ego. And he would be easily offended and insulted if you didn't take everything he said with the absolute posture of a student.
Well, and I could maybe add too that one of the biggest problems in our society is exceptionalism. We love to take people and put them on pedestals. We're not really interested in well-rounded individuals, right? We don't want to see a guy that's like pretty good at football but also is decent with physics or is able, but he's not an expert in anything. He dabbles in woodworking, right? What we want to see is we want to see someone that is exceptional in one thing, a master craftsman building something like that seems impossible. The best quarterback in America, just throwing bombs. We want to see exceptionalism. So because of that, we aren't really too interested in the complete total package, which means that we got a lot of malformed people out there that are just they've developed one side of them or one part of them, but because society doesn't really deem it to be a value to be a well-rounded individual, so like for example, a lot of mathematicians, they have pushed themselves into that field so strongly that they basically, you can't have a conversation about anything else because their entire world, because it's so important to be exceptional in something, not just okay in it, they can't have a conversation about politics, or they can't have a conversation about the economy because they're wrapped up in like some abstract algebra.
Well, if they got a degree in something, you spend 2 or 3 years, 4 years in university. What are you going to do after that? Dig ditches or get a government grant to do more research on the field in which you got a degree in?
Right. So I
think we're pushing 30 minutes here.
Oh yeah, probably. So I'll leave with this. One of the things that got me onto this thought process about the non-existence of intelligence in our society and our inability to properly identify intelligent individuals, making it almost useless title, is the nuclear program in the United States. I don't think anybody will deny that there wasn't an aspect of extreme ability and comprehension to be able to first split the atom. But also, interestingly, it was amazing to me how many of these brilliant scientists never seemed to put 2 and 2 together, going, this could have incredibly negative consequences. Should we even be doing it?
They weren't hired to give a reflective comment afterwards. They were just hired for one purpose.
Well, sure, okay, but I guess even thinking of the one guy who, when testing the where he had some enriched uranium and he had like a lead shielding, and he knew how it worked, how the lead shielding, it was complete, so that there was no electrons that could escape or whatever, that or protons, I'm not sure, but that it would cause it to go supercritical because it would all start bouncing around and it would start decaying like rapidly, right? And he knew that, and he used a pen to hold open this shielding, knowing that if the pen happened to slip, which it did, then the thing would go supercritical and he would get hit with a lethal dose of radiation. So I'm in one half of my mind, I'm thinking this guy had to be brilliant to be a lead nuclear physicist for the United States of America. And on the other hand, I'm thinking, holy shit, what a fucking moron.
Maybe he had read Nietzsche the night before.
Well, all I'm saying is it's quite possible to hold extreme cognitive ability while also simultaneously being
reckless and careless.
Well, to a point of being retarded.
Right.
Like where let's just say he wasn't a nuclear physicist, and let's just say he was like a college football player, right?
Right.
And he did the same thing. You would be like, oh yeah, well, college football player, idiot. I mean, he doesn't understand what risk is, right?
Right.
Too many brain injury. He's got hit too many times,
concussions, dude, is what it's called.
Well, thanks for that. But you know what? You know what, dude?
What?
You can't hurt me because I don't believe in intelligence. So
right.
And I don't believe. So you're
starting from, or let's say we're finishing. We're wrapping up here.
Yeah, we're wrapping up.
Okay, so
I hope it wasn't too intense for the weekend. I think we want to keep it kind of light duty so that you can actually enjoy your weekend. Not one person out there. I know that
there's one viewer.
I know that there's one person that's not us that's watching.
Do we really know that for a fact? We could have just watched our own video and not really realize it because we were stupid.
Anyways, guys, have a good one.
Arrivederci.